intolerable even for an animal, you better brace yourself. And I'll say that again in case you think I'm exaggerating. Brace yourself. This is a bad one. The pictures deserve a graphic warning. This story came to light at the end of last week in a Detroit suburb of Pontiac, Michigan. Oakland County Sheriff's deputies found 3 children in this house in these conditions: a 15-year-old boy and 2 girls aged 12 and 13. Their mother had left them in that home to fend for themselves almost 5 years ago. Do the math. They would have been 10, 8, and 7. That fact alone is mind-boggling, but so is this. They existed on weekly drop-offs of food from Instacart and DoorDash. But towards the end of that 5-year ordeal, the food that was dropped off ended up being a loaf of bread. Obviously, somebody also was paying the rent on that house until they stopped. That happened last October. And it was therefore the landlord who called the sheriff's office for a welfare check. By then, of course, those children's welfare was all but non-existent. Their house was overrun with garbage and feces and mold. Their clothes were filthy. Their hair was matted. And just so you know the extent of the neglect, their toenails were so long they could barely walk. Their last delivery of anything related to personal hygiene was a half-decade ago and was only a box of trash bags, some gloves, and a can of air freshener. 5 years ago. They hadn't been to school since 2020, and the 2 girls apparently hadn't been outside that house in years. Tonight, the children's 34-year-old mother is in custody, as she should be. But it begs the question, where was everybody else? Where was the father? Where were the schools? What about the neighbors? How could this nightmare have gone on for so long? Sheriff, thank you so much for being here. I literally can't even believe, as I read those details again, that I'm reading fact. How are the children right now, and where are they?
So we took them immediately out of the home once we discovered them, took them to medical care, and then involved our Child Protective Services. And they have been placed temporarily with relatives that were unaware of what was going on. And we have a lot more scheduled for them this week. We've got a much more detailed health and mental health examination of them. We've already done a kind of a psychological question kind of thing with a care house, kid gloves treatment to try to figure out what they're feeling, what they know, things like that. Thankfully, they're responding very well. Our detectives said when they saw them at the care house interview that they were chatty. And obviously, when we first encountered them, it was nothing like that. The girls were actually hiding in a locked bathroom.
How is their development, given the fact that this is almost half their life? They've lived alone as young children with no adult care. I mean, and just no love.
Yeah, it's horrendous. It's really difficult to wrap your head around this case. I've been in this business a very long time and seen horrific things, horrific murders, horrific child abuse. But this is a terrible one that was magnified by how long it went on over the period of years to not have an adult or any love or any structure, any education, none of that. And so, it's just really difficult to wrap your head around. But we're doing everything we can to set them up on a better path. The community has responded and filled our sheriff's office with clothing for them, and they're making donations. We're going to set us to try to get them, a fund for their health, both physical and mental health, and maybe some educational funds set aside for them.
Sheriff, the obvious question is, you've arrested the mother. I understand you can't reveal her name because she shares a last name with these children. What is her response? Is she talking? Why on earth would anyone do this?
Yeah, she's been talking to our investigators, but so far no reason for this. And it's one of those things. How do you even come up with a reason for this? When you watch the television ads, showing dogs and cats in a deplorable condition that evoke that heartstring where you want to contribute to them. Imagine that times 10, and then do it over a period of years to children. So it's really difficult to kind of wrap your arms around this, but we're going to do everything we can to wrap our arms around those kids and to make sure, quite frankly, that this mother is held accountable.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
Of first-degree child abuse against Kelli Bryant, a 34-year-old resident of Pontiac. My office has already advised the court in the neglect proceedings that we will be asking to terminate the defendant's parental rights. In every case of child abuse, my office focuses first and foremost on the best interest of the child or children and on holding those responsible for abuse accountable. The three children in this case suffered unimaginable abuse and neglect over a long period of time. Thankfully, they've now been rescued from that, and our first priority has been and will continue to be their safety and well-being. I want to briefly address, though, why we're here. Since the first announcement over the weekend by the sheriff, this case has captured the attention of the people across our community, our county, our state, and even internationally, because people are rightfully concerned about the welfare of these children. And we're holding this press conference because, like all other decisions, we balance the interests of public safety, media attention and inquiries, and balancing everyone's right to a fair trial, which is why the events and facts that are disclosed here today are strictly confined to what's already been placed on the record in the swear to this morning in the 50th District Court. When their circumstances became public, including the photos of the home, although law enforcement did not identify the defendant, she was quickly identified on social media and also has been reported in other news media outlets, which is why we are naming her today. We have recently, luckily, been fortunate enough to, for the first time ever, hire our public information officer, Jeff Watchuk, who's in the back of the room. Many of you have already spoken to and will continue to, and we're lucky to have him. The children are currently staying with a relative. All three children received immediate medical attention at a local hospital, and they were interviewed by trained forensic interviewers at Care House. Considering what they've experienced, they appear to be doing okay. Obviously, the trauma here is significant, and my office, including our victim services section, will make sure these children are supported during this process. Today, the charges are 3 counts of child abuse in the first degree. This is the most serious charge for child abuse, and if convicted, Ms. Bryant could face a sentence of up to life in prison. In the swear to this morning, on the record, it was stated that in 2019, suspect Kelli Bryant was living at the home, which I'm not disclosing the address at this time, in Pontiac, Michigan, with her 4 children. At some point between 20 and 2021, the suspect moved out of her home, leaving 3 of her children abandoned in that location, while 1 of her children went to live with their father. On February 14th, 2025, police were called to the home by the landlord. Police learned that the landlord was concerned for the welfare of Ms. Bryant, who had not paid rent on the property since October of 2024. Police entered with the landlord and discovered her 3 children, ages 12, 13, and 15. Her daughters were hiding in a bathroom that was filled with feces, piles of trash, and completely non-functional, while her son was hiding in another room. Police were astonished to find anyone in the location because it appeared to be uninhabitable, with piles of garbage and refuse several feet high, including large amounts of human excrement. The children were afraid to come out of their hiding places and to speak with the police. Police had to repeatedly advise the children that they were there to help and they were safe. The children's bodies and clothing were covered in feces, and the girls had difficulty physically walking outside of the residence. In addition to the physical difficulty, they appeared to be and were immediately overstimulated upon leaving the residence. All 3 children were transported via ambulance to the hospital and showed signs of severe neglect. At the hospital, the children struggled with completing basic hygiene tasks like flushing a toilet, and brushing their teeth because they had not done it in years. The children were forensically interviewed and described having virtually no physical contact with their mother, suspect Bryant, or the outside world in several years. The girls had not left the residence in several years, and her son had only left the home to go into the yard approximately 2 times, never venturing away from the house more than to check the mailbox. During his interview, her son stated that he would text their mother when their food supply was running low and she would have food delivered to the residence. The children shared that during the years they were concealed in the home, their suspect Bryant failed to provide toilet paper, soap, or shampoo. The defendant instructed the kids that they were not to answer the door or leave the house. All 3 children expressed fear about what their mother's response would be if they left the home. Defendant concealed the children from family and friends and lied about who was caring for the kids and their whereabouts. The defendant took the active steps of lying and concealing to make sure the children went undiscovered, and she took these actions knowing that her children would suffer serious physical and emotional harm as a result. Those are the statements made in the swear-to this morning. And again, these are allegations. I do want to point out and thank all the officers that were on scene that day. I personally viewed the videos and images and was struck at what a difficult situation it was, but in the face of that difficulty, offered compassion to these kids. I also want to thank Detective John Brush and Lieutenant Sam Marsban for their dedication in working this case. And of course, the assistant prosecutors involved, Chief of Administration Betsy Haig, Chief of our SVU Sarah Green, APA Lauren Benninger, Chief of the Juvenile Division Kelly Collins, and APA Kanika Ferenczi for their diligent efforts in this case. At present, we've not been presented with a request for criminal charges against any other individuals. That does not mean that won't happen in the future. I just can't speak to it at this point. Morally, there is plenty of responsibility to go around for how this was allowed to happen. However, these 3 kids were entrusted to the care of their mother, Kelli Bryant, and the evidence suggests that she effectively abandoned them to a revolting pit of refuse and squalor. There must be consequences for those actions. The defendant is presently in custody. The 3 children in this case were interviewed at Care House, and I want to emphasize how important Care House is to this community. These kids were interviewed in a safe environment by an experienced, trained forensic interviewer, and these interviews are important in all child abuse cases. They allow each child the chance to tell us their story without the influence of the abuser and without using leading questions that could taint their testimony. I can't emphasize enough how important Care House is. If you suspect a child is abused or neglected, you too can report this to CPS. The hotline is 855-444-3911. And I urge anyone who suspects that a child is being abused or neglected to report that using that number. We need to make sure that every child is safe and well cared for. And before I take questions, I just want to remind you that these charges, again, are only allegations, and the defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Questions?
Not having been to the area, neighbors, anybody? I mean, I think what maybe people struggle with is how intimidated by their mother, yes, but how they could not even venture out of the home, or just nobody knowing that they were there. Or can you add context into, how that can happen?
I can only comment on what's been placed on the record. That's my ethical duty. But I will say that we see time and time again, victims of severe abuse of all ages make decisions that don't seem reasonable to us. And what we know is that's very common. And there's a multitude of reasons why they didn't leave the home. We just don't know that yet. Yes.
Have prosecutors or deputies interviewed the fathers of the children?
They have. Yes.
Multiple fathers or one father?
I think it's already public record that of the 4 kids, there are 2 fathers.
Prosecutor McDonald,
Yes.
What stands out about this case to you? I mean, it's a pretty significant child abuse case.
That's a difficult question and a really good question. you know, I said yesterday, and I've said this to the sheriff personally, we say a lot, this is the worst I've ever seen. And I've stopped saying that because every time I say that, I see something worse. It was unbelievable what they were living with for years. Unbelievable. It wouldn't be surroundings where you would want any living creature living in, creature or animal, or particularly human beings. I mean, these kids, not to have even basic hygiene tools. And I guess what stands out the most for me is no love. There was nobody there to care for them for between 3 and 4 years. No parent, nobody physically present to let them know that they were safe and they were loved. Yes.
Did she have any prior contact with CPS or a prior criminal record?
I can't comment on that.
Is she being held on any outstanding charges, or is it just on this and then she'll be arraigned tomorrow?
We are not aware of any other holds or matters that she would be held under. At this moment, she's being held because of these pending charges. Now they're official, and she'll be arraigned, I believe, tomorrow.
Can you provide more context, appreciating what you said about, you mentioned that he would text his mother, one of the older boy. So he had access to a phone apparently, but.
All the children had access to the phones. They all had their own phones.
So would they see her? I've read an account that maybe she drops some food off weekly, or can you talk about how they survived if they didn't leave the home, how often she came and where she was staying?
There was no, according to the evidence that's been placed on the record, there was no physical contact whatsoever. And I don't think it's accurate to say that they had food dropped off weekly. Sometimes, right. Sometimes it was longer than that.
But
and
she was the one distributing?
No, not all the time.
Okay.
Not all the time.
You had said the restroom was not, is that what you said? The restroom was not maybe properly functioning in there, but do we know if there was heat or air conditioning in the summer?
I don't have that. That has not been put on the record. But I do not believe that there was, I believe there was heat enough so that the children were at least able to live there. If not, as you know, given the cold temperatures, there would have been signs of freezing to death.
Where was she staying?
I don't have that information, not there.
And obviously you've charged her, so she thinks I'm assuming that obviously there's competence. So not that there's ever a reason for something of this horrific nature, but any inferences to the why that she just decided to abandon her kids beyond, some may think mental issues, but obviously not if you're charging her. Right.
Without commenting particularly on this case, as the prosecutor over the last over 4 years, I've been asked, and I hear repeatedly that question on all of the terrible, violent, atrocious acts that we see, the why. And the answer is we don't know why. We can't get in the mind of somebody else. But we do know what the evidence shows, and we have the law. And nobody who is not found competent can stand trial. So I can't comment on that right now. But just to say that sometimes there isn't a why. Yes.
Is there any evidence to suggest that there's substance abuse may have been involved in anything?
I can't comment on that.
Has mom been cooperative?
The defendant has an absolute right to remain silent. So any comment I would make on whether or not she's spoken to the police would be a violation of her rights.
Thank you.
Longer term, can you share what the plan is for the children? And some may wonder if family have taken them in now, how they didn't know. But I'm not trying to assess blame by asking, but where were they prior? How did they not know?
Right.
I mean, there are a lot of questions. Obviously.
Good question. And the thing that I want to stress here is that we are responsible for prosecuting all of the criminal cases in this county. We're also responsible for representing the Department of Health and Human Services in child abuse and neglect proceedings. So we are simultaneously prosecuting the criminal case against mom and the neglect proceeding pertaining to the kids. So we will be asking our client, the Department of Health and Human Services, to file a petition to terminate her rights. So there's just a lot we can't really get into, except I do want to say that our client, the Department of Health and Human Services, their number one priority is the care and welfare of children. And wherever they are placed, they do their due diligence to make sure that is a safe placement. And all I can say is that those questions were asked and obviously satisfied. And the other thing I want to say is there's been such an outpouring in this community, but I would just stress that in the effort to take care of these kids, that we also protect their privacy. And Pontiac, if those of you who don't know, it's a small place and everybody knows everybody. And any outrage is totally understandable, but we want to do as much as we can to protect their placement so that they are protected.
But to be clear, they are not wards of the state. They are with family.
They are in the care and custody of the Department of Health and Human Services, and they are placed through DHHS with a relative placement. Yes, the custody remains with DHHS until otherwise determined by the court. And again, those are two different proceedings.
Separate tracks.
Yes, that we are, there was a preliminary hearing yesterday, and we'll continue to provide information about that as that moves along.
Thank you.
Anything else?
All right, back on the record with the Kelli Bryant matter. For the record, Ms. Carragano, you've had an opportunity to go into a private confidential breakout room to confer with your client regarding the charges in this matter. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
And are you waiving the reading of the general information and complaint this morning?
Yes, Your Honor, waive reading, stand mute, ask the judge not guilty plea on her behalf. I did advise her of the nature of the offenses, the maximum possible penalties, as well as gave her basic constitutional rights.
All right, this matter is hereby assigned to Honorable Judge Cynthia Walker. She will be back before her on for a probable cause conference March 4th, 2025, for a probable cause conference with an exam date set for March 11th, 2025. Ms. Bryant, that exam date is a tentative date depending upon everyone's schedule, but by the court rule, we have to set a date to keep it going. That will be at 9 o'clock. The PCC, the probable cause conference, is at 1:30. Of course, if you're unable to retain an attorney, and a court-appointed attorney will be provided for you to help you navigate and to communicate before Judge Walker on your next court date in this matter. Pretrial services relative to bond, but for the record, Ms. Carragano, are you in receipt of the pretrial services report bail recommendation in this matter?
Your Honor, and I did discuss it with my client.
Okay, all right.
I am, yes.
Okay, and have you read and reviewed that?
I did do that in the breakout room, Your Honor. Sorry, there's a lot of feedback, I think, from the jail screen. I think that's our problem. Right
Yeah,
now.
our problem is
But
from
yes,
the
I did
jail
review
screen.
it, and I talked to her.
Okay, all right, so they're recommending release with conditions in this matter. So we're gonna go from there. We have the PCC date. I'm gonna have you speak to bond, and then I'll make my decision as to bond. And I'll also have prosecution speak to bond. Ms. Carragano, you're asking the court to accept the recommendation as provided by pretrial services?
I am, Your Honor. MCR 6.106, if you go through those conditions, provide that a personal recognizance bond with any conditions should be provided unless Ms. Bryant fell under some of the very specified exceptions to a personal bond that are listed. The court can also provide a cash bond if the court finds that Ms. Bryant is either a risk to the community or a flight risk. This particular case is serious, and we're not denying that it's a very serious case. However, I don't believe that the facts and circumstances of the case give any indication that Ms. Bryant is a risk to the community at large. In addition to that, there is no indication that Ms. Bryant is a flight risk. She's a lifelong resident of the county. She was residing within the city limits of this community. She, was employed, and she has ties to the community. In speaking to her, She also is asking that the court consider a tether, which could be part of a bond if the people had any concerns that she posed a flight risk. I do think, the recommendation from pretrial services is in line with the Michigan court rules, understanding that it is a very serious offense, but the court rules are what they are. And they do provide that Ms. Bryant should be released on a personal bond with conditions. So that's what I'm asking the court to do.
Ms. Green, would you like to address the court regarding bond in this matter?
Thank you, Your Honor. I did have the opportunity to look at the pretrial services report. I know, Your Honor, just where to facts yesterday and that those are fresh in your
One
memory,
moment,
so
please.
I
I'm
will
going to mute the jail. Camera. And go ahead, Ms. Green.
Thank you. I did have the opportunity to review the pretrial services report. I know that Your Honor just listened to the swear to facts yesterday, and I'm sure that those are fresh in your memory. I am requesting in this case, I do agree with Ms. Kirandango regarding MCR 6.106 to the extent that you may not deny bond, but this court has the authority to put in place a high cash bond with conditions. And I believe that it appears that Ms. Bryant is not employed and that her resident status may be transient. So I consider her, and I think that the facts of this case portray her as a potential flight risk, and that there are 3 victims in this case that she should absolutely be prohibited from having contact with. So I'd ask that the court add a specific no contact provision as it relates to the 3 minor victims in this case. And if the court would like me to go on, I can.
No. What I found very suspicious in the report for pretrial services, there's 2 different addresses given to her. So I agree with you, Ms. Green, that one could opine that she's transient. She's from here, she's from there. We don't know where she resides. I do find her an acute risk and danger to the community and to any minor children under the age of 18, let alone the 3 minor children that she is a mother to. With that in mind, I agree with Ms. Kirandango. I cannot deny her bond. That is court, of course. My first knee-jerk reaction was to deny her bond. However, because I find her acute danger, I find her a continued danger to the children. My main concern is, I don't know who, if anyone, that the children have been given to. If it is a family member, I'm concerned that she still may have contact with the family member from the jail with instructions to continue to engage in fear tactics to forbid the children from cooperating with authorities in their continued investigation in this matter. For that reason alone, I'm giving her a $250 million bond in this matter, cash only. The other aspects, should she post said bond, she is not to have any contact with these children by family members, third-party agents, or friends. So, Ms. Bryant, I want you to understand, any phone calls from the jail, should you're unable to post this bond, is recorded. Should the court find out that you are sending messages to engage in further fear tactics and intimidation of the children, your phone privileges will be removed. You're not to have, in fact, any contact should you post this bond with any children under the age of 18 in this matter. If you post this bond, you should be supervised by pretrial services, no alcohol or drugs, no weapons or firearms, and a GPS tether with a verified address, because I'm concerned pretrial services has indicated 2 different reported addresses for you. I don't believe anyone knows where you have been staying, madam. There's no consistent history. Anything further regarding the bond, Ms. Kirandango, Ms. Green?
Just ever so briefly, they had no issues finding my client to arrest her. So I just want the record to be clear on that.
Ms. Green?
Your Honor, you have before you information that the defendant has been lying about her whereabouts, the whereabouts regarding what she was telling where the children were. So you have a lot on this record in terms of inconsistencies with her location and the information that she's given to put in place this high cash bond.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your cooperation in this matter. Ms. Bryant, you are thanked and excused from the camera. Ms. Caragongo, Ms. Green, thank you so much. Pretrial service, thank you so much. Ma'am, can you?
But we begin tonight with questions still swirling regarding 3 children that investigators say were abandoned for years inside a Pontiac home. Where was the mom living that whole time? Welcome to 7 News Detroit at 6. I'm Carolyn Clifford.
And I'm Mike Duffy. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, Kelli Bryant is facing federal charges of child abuse after investigators discovered her children living in filth and squalor for years. And today, our team found out where Bryant may have been living.
And that's not all. 7 News Detroit reporter Sarah Michaels is also listening to the children's grandparents tonight and a neighbor who says he actually had interactions with the kids before.
Up until this point, many of us believed that the 3 children living in this home had no contact with anyone except for their mother for nearly 5 years. Well, today we learned that at least a handful of times they did call out to a neighbor. Was it just that one time?
Maybe 2 or 3 times.
A father himself, Jamar Johnson, tells me he felt the need to share that he heard the 3 kids abandoned in squalor in this Pontiac home. For 6 months, he has lived 2 doors down, and occasionally they yelled out their window to him.
They say, hey, nice car. But, and I might wave back at them, but that's it. There's no way that I could have known that they were in a terrible situation.
Johnson says, how could he know that the room the children were calling from was stacked 4 feet high with mold, feces, and trash? He says he never saw them outside, but he saw their mother, 34-year-old Kelli Marie Bryant.
She would be outside for hours and hours with a friend.
Johnson says Bryant was always in a car with a friend. He never saw her go inside, and he wonders, who was that friend? Did they know who Bryant was hiding?
She's from here, she's from there. We don't know where she resides.
So many have been wondering where Bryant herself lived while her children sat in isolation. Court documents show 2 addresses. At one of them, I talked to a woman who confirmed Bryant was living here. Were you guys living together? Yeah. The house is about 6 minutes away from where Bryant's children were. The woman behind the door telling me that Bryant always told them the kids were with their dad, and Bryant actually played with other people's kids. The 3 children, ages 15, 13, and 12, are currently staying with their maternal grandpa. Over the phone, their paternal grandpa, Samuel White, tells me he and the kids' father have been trying to see the kids for years.
But it just hurt because it's not the fact that she had to take them through that. Why would she do that and that wasn't the situation?
White says that he personally asked Bryant to bring the kids around. The answer was always no, begging the final question and perhaps the biggest question, why would she do this? How are you guys coping with that?
I mean, it's sickening because it was like we wasn't running from the situation. We always asked about them. They doing all right, but it's a lot of scar there. It's a lot of scars.
Bryant will be back in court March 4th for a probable cause conference. In Pontiac, Sarah Michaels.
We all knew she was a bad parent, but I don't think nobody really realized this was going on.
Charlene Bryant is the former sister-in-law to 34-year-old Kelli Bryant, now facing child abuse charges after investigators say they found 3 of her kids living alone in squalor for several years at this Pontiac townhouse on Lydia Lane. Charlene has not been in contact in years and has loads of questions now.
I just don't know how the family don't know when they were so close.
Oakland County Prosecutor McDonald charged Kelli Bryant with 3 counts of child abuse in the first degree, which could mean life in prison if convicted. All of this after police say they found 3 of Bryant's 4 kids, a 15-year-old boy and his 2 sisters, ages 12 and 13, living in horrific conditions.
Her daughters were hiding in a bathroom that was filled with feces, piles of trash, and completely non-functional, while her son was hiding in another room. Police were astonished to find anyone in the location because it appeared to be uninhabitable, with piles of garbage and refuse several feet high, including large amounts of human excrement.
The prosecutor says Bryant lived at the home with all 4 kids back in 2019, but later moved out, leaving 3 of her children abandoned while one of the kids went to live with their dad. Detectives say the landlord called police to the home, worried for Bryant's welfare after not getting a rent payment since last October. That's when the kids were found, shaken, scared, and covered in feces, according to the prosecutor.
Honestly, I thought the grandmother was taking care of the children.
That's the last you heard.
Yeah, that's the last. You went 4 or 5 years without seeing your grandchildren. There was no questions.
We stopped by the Pontiac home of Bryant's extended family, where the police eventually took the kids. We wanted to talk to the adults. Hi, how are you?
No, sir, no comment.
Is there anything you'd like to say, sir? No comment given there. We also searched Bryant's Facebook page, which was easy to find and not set to private. Her content shows her modeling various outfits for the camera.
She's going to claim she couldn't afford to take care of her kids, but you got your hair done, you got your nails done, you got new clothes on all your pictures. Come on now.
What do you think should happen at this point?
She needs to go to prison and never see her kids again. Them kids need to go to someone that's going to take care of them.
The community.
She is accused of leaving her 15-year-old son and her 12 and 13-year-old daughters alone since March of 2020. The children were discovered living in horrendous conditions.
7 News Detroit reporter Sarah Michaels listened in on that arraignment and is outside the home where that alleged abuse took place in Pontiac.
We have spent most of this afternoon outside of this home where 3 children were allegedly abandoned for nearly 5 years. We are told that they were living among mold, feces, and piles of trash up to 4 feet, 5 feet tall, some of which we just saw carried out a few moments ago.
Feces all over the place.
Soiled mattresses, moldy couches, dozens of pizza boxes, and trash, all being pulled out of this Pontiac home almost a week after 3 children were discovered living here. It is alleged that 34-year-old Kelli Marie Bryant abandoned 3 of her children here back in 2020. A boy and 2 girls, now 15, 13, and 12, presumably 10, 8, and 7 at the time of their abandonment. They were finally found Friday during a wellness check for Bryant. According to the Oakland County Sheriff's Department, Bryant would drop off food periodically and threaten the children to never leave or answer the door. For nearly 5 years, we're told that they had no hygiene products. With the door and windows now open, you can smell the filth inside this home from the sidewalk.
I find her a continued danger to the children.
Bryant is now in jail facing 3 counts of first-degree child abuse. In court Thursday, she was given a $250 million cash bond. The judge saying that she doesn't believe anyone knows where Bryant herself was truly living at the time of this abuse, and that Bryant should have no contact with her own children or anyone under the age of 18.
I'm concerned that she still may have contact with a family member from the jail with instructions to continue to engage in the fear tactics to forbid the children from cooperating with authorities.
The sheriff has told us that Bryant's 3 children have received treatment from Care House in Pontiac this week. Care House is an incredible local nonprofit that provides treatment for children who are victims of abuse. Stay with us because coming up in an hour at 6, we are taking you inside Care.
Me, sir. I'm here. I am here. This is what we going through. Excuse me. Stay with me. This is what we going through. This is the house that she kept them kids at, y'all. And I gotta clean it. Oh, God.
Do y'all want to take the stove and the refrigerator out or what?
That stove and that refrigerator need to come out.
Well, y'all gonna take it out or y'all want us to take it out?
Where we gonna put it at once we take it out, sir?
Right there, yeah.
Lay it right there?
Yeah. You know those scrappers?
Yeah, but I need somebody to walk me downstairs. You want to? Have you been down there yet?
No, I ain't been down. Come on. Okay.
Ooh-wee.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Come on, y'all going.
Give me my mask. Where is the mask at?
She should get her ass kicked.
Hey, where is my mask?
This is it, y'all.
I don't know.
We got a big crew with us today. Excuse me. Let me slide down here. Look at it. They was all down here. What you say, Uncle, a little bit? Yeah, you don't touch nothing if you ain't got no gloves on. All right, let me go up here. Ooh, good. Yeah, so you got to take that washer and that dryer out, okay? Or do you want him to just take out that stove and that fridge? You want me to take that stove and that fridge out right now? Yeah, my uncle will get that for you. We got to take that refrigerator and that stove off. We got to take it out. We got to put it to the curb. It ain't no more good. They shouldn't even try to replace. Ain't no cleaning that. You can't clean that, baby. You got to take that out. Ooh, Lord. We got plenty. Huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go to the dollar store and get some masks.
I'll go get you some. I'll get you some. Oh man, pull it from the bottom of my shoe. Please pull it from the bottom of my shoe, y'all. I think it's a nail. Oh Lord. You see it? Is it off?
Yeah.
Y'all need some masks? Let me go get a box. You got some, Dave?
How you know Dave?
I know Dave. Dave good people.
Dave know everybody.
Y'all picked it up, huh? We need that refrigerator and stuff taken out. But I'm gonna keep it honest with you. If everybody finna be standing around, they're gonna have to go outside. Cause I ain't come for that. My people ready to work, baby.
No.
They can't be standing around.
No, we're coming to work.
Okay. Not you. I know you ready. Talk about everybody else.
I'm telling you what to do.
We gonna start out by taking that stove and that refrigerator out for sure.
Well,
ain't no replacements on that. Look at them. Look at my people ready. Go ahead.
Y'all stand to the side.
This is the house, y'all, that she kept them kids at. Low down, dirty bitch. Damn, that bitch low down for this. Coming and bringing them food and shit. Ooh, Lord. Turn that gas off. That stuff should be already hooked out. Let me show y'all. That's all electric. Watch out, some might run out.
So what we should do?
Pull it out, bro.
Yeah.
Pull it all. Yeah. Pull it out. My people ain't come to play, baby. Pull it out. We on the time frame. Get that shit up out of here. Watch out, Dave. Gotta take it out. They taking that stove out, y'all. We taking the stove out. This bitch kept them kids here for 4 years. And they called the goat to come clean this motherfucker. That bitch ought to be ashamed. It's fucked up, ain't it? Lord Jesus. Woo! Well, they had to pull a carpet up in here. I'm glad they opened up the windows. This refrigerator got to go too, so you might as well grab this. I can't make no phone calls, honey. I'm on live. Sorry, baby. I'm on live. Ooh-wee. Hey, Dave. What are you about to do? Okay. Okay. My people put that shit out. Get it a little bit. Pull that bitch right there in the front. That's it. It could just go right there. The refrigerator coming next. We can't clean that. Uh-huh. You want to take that refrigerator out, You see if you get your leather gloves, they're in that bag. You good? You good, I got you. This nasty bitch. Look at this down here, y'all. You already know. They finna pick that up too. Oh, they finna pick that up. It don't matter who pick it up. It gotta get picked up, baby.
Oh, yeah.
What y'all wanna do with the washer and the dryer? We throwing that out too, or that's the people's?
I gotta call him again and see what he gonna do with that.
Okay. I know that's right. Yeah, just call him, but tell him you ain't gotta tell him nothing. I ain't moving that.
Yeah.
We good. Sorry, Dave. Look at my ready. They play. Ooh, Dave fell. Take the refrigerator out. Ooh, we Lord. I'm happy that they pulled out that carpet. They really thought we was gonna scrub this nasty ass refrigerator. That's crazy. It's crazy as fuck. Oh Lord. Oh, that water still flooding? Yeah, that's a little extra. Would you say a little bit? Look at the countertops. Once all this get out, they even got to pull that floor up. Look at the refrigerator. Oh, we Lord Jesus. It is ridiculous. But you gonna have to get it a little bit. Pull it out. Is that water still coming out? No, I think we good, Oh God. You gonna have to probably need somebody up over there with you in an orange. You need help, baby. Everything gotta get thrown away. You ain't never lied. Everything. They trying to have somebody clean that. We can't clean that. It's over. Get it, Get that shit up out of here. Oh. What?
Like in the refrigerator, we can't throw it out yet, but we gotta take the stuff out of there.
You said we can't throw the refrigerator out yet?
No, we got the food and stuff is in there. We gotta put that in bags. Okay.
Okay, we gonna get it, baby. Don't worry about it. Everything gonna be, trust me. They called the right cleaning service when they called me. Yeah. Hey, look, I'm gonna keep it honest with you. We can't clean that.
No.
We gonna get that shit up out of here. Come on, pull that out. We ain't listening to nothing what he talking about. Taking the food out. Everything going out. Everything going out. Yes, I am, honey. My TikTok gonna go crazy.
Well, you finna be on it. What's your name? So I'm North's Cleaning Services. I had it for like 7 years. So I for sure get it in. But you on my live right now.
Oh, hi guys.
I got my uncle there. They keep saying, watch this, watch this. We throwing this shit away. All that shit gotta get thrown away. Man, what? I'm not scared. I said y'all gotta get it all out before I put my touch on there. I'm not doing it. Talking about we finna scrub this with some SOS pass. Who about to? Y'all better throw that shit away.
It was shit all.
It was shit, girl. Girl, you should see the bathtub. Every time I go in the bathtub, I gotta hurry up and run out. I'm puking. But they called the right cleaning service. I'm finna transform it, but they. Yeah. Thank you. Bye. I mean, you can stay here as long as you want. Right. Pull that bitch out, They want everything to stay. We gonna pull it out. We ain't scrubbing no refrigerators. We ain't scrubbing this stove. This stove got feces on it and everything, y'all. But yes, it's North Cleaning Services. Holla at me. North, North.
Where you want us to follow you at?
Facebook, Key Love.
All right, you guys have a good day.
Thank you. Push it up. They're a little caught, y'all. Y'all. They called the right cleaning service lady on this one. Because everything gotta go. Is this some more gloves in the car? Take it off. Take it off. They go to the refrigerator though. My people got it off. Take that shit off. Look at these white folks right here. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm okay, baby. Look, Alyssa say you need my help, period, Alyssa. We ain't playing. Look, my uncle, he hammering the doors off. My uncle ain't playing. So low down, dirty bitch. Damn, I'm irritated. Y'all see all them bugs and stuff in there?
Okay, next season is good.
Okay, little man.